When playing GeoGuessr, I saw McDonald's. Now this McDonald's stood out because it looked like a Western house, which I found cool. When living/visiting in Japan, I saw quite a few of these, so I wasn't really shocked. I just kind of forgot they existed, so I kind of found it cool. I wanted to find out what exact McDonald's this was, so I went on Google Maps and found it. And when I went on to Street View, it looked like this. I was disappointed, but not surprised. Remember a few years back when everyone was complaining how companies were changing their logos and oversimplifying them? Japan has seemed to done that, except with buildings. And the thing that annoys me is when logos do it, everyone gets mad because it's boring, it's unoriginal, it's just bad. But when buildings do it, all of a sudden it's sleek, it's modern, it's efficient. Well, I'm here to prove that this is terrible, and modernizing buildings really shows the downsides of Japanese culture. Going back to the McDonald's that looked like a house, it was unique. To Japanese people, it was giving them a slice of Western life, and to foreigners such as myself, it gave me a little familiarity of back home. It was truly unique since McDonald's back home here looks all the same, no matter what time period you're looking at. If a McDonald's in America looked like a house, it would be a very special one. But in Japan, there are quite a few of them, making it a cool sight to see but still familiar. But most of these have been switched to modern, sleek, and efficient designs instead. And while they serve the purpose they're supposed to, and maybe even do the job better, it loses the character that the building originally had. And we can see this with buildings aside from McDonald's. One of the most famous cases is the Nakagin Capsule Tower. This building was world famous, one of the biggest icons of Japan. But because it was made in the 70s, it was aging terribly, so they demolished it. No remodeling, no restoration, none of that. They just simply got rid of it. And if they can do this with such an iconic building, imagine what other amazing buildings have been simply demolished. And the part that annoys me the most is that these buildings are usually just replaced with boring old generic buildings instead. It seems that Japan can't preserve these buildings very well unless they're from like 20 million years ago. It's truly sad to see this, especially when it happens to a place that you went to growing up. But because these places usually happen to places that aren't too well known, people usually just don't care at all. And this brings me on to my other point. Japanese culture is to blame for the modernization of buildings. Like I said, Japan doesn't really preserve good buildings unless it's from 20 million years ago. And this has to do with the culture of the Japanese people. I'm pretty sure most of you know how Japanese culture really discourages uniqueness, but videos mentioning these don't usually really expand on this. And videos from people like Drew Binsky saying, "Look at this crack addict in a Pikachu suit in the middle of Shibuya. Oh my god, Japan's such a unique country." But in reality, this type of stuff is frowned upon. For good reason. But simple things such as, I don't know, not being able to pronounce a word is usually frowned upon. The culture really encourages people to be the same, and therefore a lot of people have very bad social problems. Even I've suffered greatly from this, but that's a video for another time. What I'm trying to say is that this type of culture causes the modernization of buildings. If a building stands out, it's going out. No matter if the building looks cool or has some great significance. And even if this is very efficient, it'll make Japan a place where there will be buildings from ancient times and then buildings from no less than 10 years ago. No in-betweens. It's truly sad to see this, especially with places such as houses. Unlike businesses, houses have so much more connection with the people. I mean, it's the place you spend the most time in, so getting rid of it just leaves an empty gap inside of you. Oh, I like to mention that modernization is needed, as terrible old buildings just sitting there collect dust just need to go out, but getting rid of a unique building that has a lot of character is just simply terrible. And even if it may be efficient, it gets rid of one of the greatest values of the humankind: creativity.